You're now watching a clip from the Inspired by show. You can watch the full episode on our YouTube channel or listen on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to head over there, leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed it, and follow the show. Now, you've obviously had lots of breakthroughs in your life, even going back, Imran, just the first 14 years of what you just shared is so inspirational. So in that moment, when you mentioned that your parents came back into your life, that was clearly a life-changing moment for you, and there were probably lots of patterns that shifted and changed in that. And the way I would reflect on that is also the element of forgiving them to bring them back into your life. So tell us a little bit more about your experience in that and the forgiveness to get your family back together.
Yeah, interesting question. It's a good one, actually. You know what? If I say forgiveness, I'd be lying, because I think just the fact that there was a ticket out of this system where you were in a care system, essentially, to a normal life, something perceived normal initially. And I don't think it required forgiveness. I think it just required hope that things will become better, that you can be normalized again. You can be, because I used to pretend to all the preceding years, I'd pretended that my mum and dad were at home, but they just weren't around. They never came and picked me up. They were never there at Parents' Day. Because they were busy. We never went on holiday because they had been out of the country or they were on business. There were different things. So to finally not having to lie anymore and to bring the pieces of the puzzle together and actually complete that puzzle, I felt this was the no-brainer approach, that you have a younger brother, you didn't have a younger sister at this point, but you had a stepbrother who was younger, had mum, had a stepdad at this point. So I think it was only the natural thing to go and do what is required of you at this point and go back with your family. But then you soon realize that this isn't really your family, because if they cared for you, they wouldn't do the very things that were done. And that was being in the type of schools you were in, being in the environments, being on the streets, but being on the streets at the age of 10, 11, until midnight, way beyond that, in one of the most worst places that you can grow up in. And just being available to go out any time of the day that you wanted to and do whatever you wanted. And that didn't require forgiveness. It required questioning as to what is going on in my life. What happened was, as we moved on, and my sister was born, and she came around, and then it required more of a force from me to actually go out there and do something. So I had to get super resourceful. But then there was some finger pointing. Why am I doing this at this age? Why am I a father at this age? Why does it feel like the burden's on me at this age? Why am I going through so much stress at this age? Why is there no electricity at this age? And I have to go and figure out who's going to help or how we're going to get this money for electricity. Why am I having to steal her milk at this age? Again, I was arrested over and over again. And every time they'd ask me in the police station, why are you doing this? And I'm like, well, if I don't do it, who is going to? If I don't provide the food, who is going to? If I don't go out and get the money, who is going to? And it was, do you know what, just looking back, it was, they would come to me, and this would, my parents would walk in to the police station because they'll need someone to take care of you as a guardian. But they would also look at me in shame, as in, how did you do this? And I'm looking at them thinking, who are you to even look at me in that way? So the forgiveness was very short-lived. But it's interesting that you asked for forgiveness, actually, because when I grew up, and I got to 16, 17, and I got beyond that, I then found these books that I started reading, and I started looking at what really defines your purpose, what paves your path. And I looked at my past, and I looked at the path, and I looked at how it was paved, and I looked at the future, and I said, I don't want it paved in the same way, but what is paving this path? Something is. Because one technique that took me away from everything that happened in the past was effective blaming. Now that's blaming those people for everything that had happened to you and what they'd done to you in an effective way. If you didn't leave me, I wouldn't become the person that I was. If you didn't put me through that position, I wouldn't have understood what love is. If you didn't allow me to suffer, I wouldn't understand what it feels like to heal. If I wasn't broken, I don't know what it means to be fixed. If I didn't go to those depths of despair, I could never take anyone out of those depths of despair that are in them now. So there was a purpose to everything. I started realizing that if I blamed effectively, I've got to blame them for the good as much as the bad. And the good that came out, which was defining who I am today, based on what they put me through. If they didn't put me through all of that, I don't think we'll be having this conversation. Genuinely. So it's interesting, and that comes from a true place of forgiveness. Like, I love you, I thank you, and I forgive you for putting me through all of that.
That's so beautiful, Imran. And it's almost where it goes from forgiveness to almost gratitude towards it.
Absolutely.
And, we're never going to look back and go, I'm so grateful for my parents being like that, because we won't know what it would have been like if they weren't like that. There's many different sides to the story.
Yeah.
But I find it fascinating that the forgiveness is the starting point, or the hope, then the forgiveness, then the gratitude.
Yeah.
And like you say, the effective blame. And that's a really beautiful way of looking at it, because a lot of people, especially people that we see at our events and our trainings, they are in blame. They're in blame, which I would go as far as saying victim mode.